So there's been some interviews. I'm late on the train on this one. I realize that I had a very busy day yesterday, but there's been some interviews about the Switch 2. Now, why they came out on Monday, which is 5 days after the launch of the Switch 2, the absolutely terrible, confusing as hell launch that they spent way too much time on the game chat, which is very discerning because if that's the biggest feature they got on the thing, whatever. It's just whatever. But I wanted to look more into this and what they had to say. And I've read some excerpts from different articles, and it's basically Nintendo saying, doesn't matter what we do, we'll do whatever we want to. You're gonna buy it anyway. It's just basically Apple, and of course, Apple, Nintendo, people just completely ignore the fact that they're getting raked over the coals with these companies, and they just keep giving them money. So let's get into some of these articles. This one was with Bill Trinan. Congrats on finally unveiling Switch 2. How does it feel to finally have it out? Well, it's just exciting to be able to get all the details out there, which they didn't. They didn't get the details. That has been the biggest problem. And the even worse problem about this is these interviews happened the day of the launch. They saw that nightmare that they had going on with the Treehouse Live, and they still just let those people go out there, just feed them to the wolves. For us, the most important thing is that we really want people to recognize and understand that Switch 2 is a true successor to the Switch. Of course, Switch 2, it's in the title, takes what you love about the Nintendo Switch and then builds on that with a whole new level or a whole lot of new features and new capabilities and new games. It's not new games. It's reprints of games that already exist so far that take advantage of those and really takes what has evolved gaming with Nintendo into something that's a lot more social through things like game chat. Now, this ability to have chats with friends in games has been around since I started doing it in Battlefield 3 whenever that came out. And I got that the day it came out. And I don't like, again, I've said this, conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it. I do not like these words. Nintendo into something that's a lot more social through things like game chat. Why can't we hang out with friends anymore? Why are we so separated? Is something else coming down the pike? 2020, which takes what the anytime, anywhere play of Nintendo Switch and makes it more altogether, anytime, anywhere. This is their new slogans, so he's got to vomit that shit out. IGN, so you just mentioned a game chat that was a huge part of your presentation. It was like a fifth or like a tenth of the it was ridiculous how long they went on with that. Why was now the time to finally introduce Nintendo voice chat, which is something that people have wanted on your consoles for a really long time? Yeah, because it's been on other consoles for like 2 decades practically. Well, we suck at everything, but we charge more for it. No, well, I would say we've already looked at it from the perspective of what is Nintendo's real strength and what are Nintendo's real values. How does that answer the question? And for us, the most important thing is putting smiles on people's faces and doing it in a way that people can see and experience the smiles that they have with the people that are most important to them. This is the most disgusting statement I think I've ever heard from. And certainly there have been, and certainly there have been other game systems with chat and things like that up until now. Yeah, like every system since 20 whatever. But we wanted to do, or what we wanted to do was to take forever and charge more for it. And something that could finally replicate that same room, a couch multiplayer co-op experience and joy. Why don't you just say you didn't know how to do it and now you finally did, and now you finally found a peripheral that'll help you do it. It's called a camera. I'm looking at one right now, and you're charging more for it, and you've got to get a service. I mean, it's just whatever. Cool. We always knew if you did a voice chat, it would be the most Nintendo way. No. Okay. So anyway, it keeps going on like this. Non-answers. Well, let's talk about Donkey Kong Bonanza. I love the title, by the way. It's perfect. Although last night when I was scrambling to type my preview, it autocorrected to Bonanza every time, and I was like, I've got to add this to my dictionary. But I love the name, and it's so exciting to see DK back. Blah blah blah. Well, so I'll start with the terrible joke, which is like to call this the most groundbreaking game in video game history. Oh, because the groundbreak. Wow. I mean, that's what. I guess I'm retarded because I didn't understand that. Laughs. I can't. I'm sorry. The taste in my mouth from Nintendo is so soured. I just can't even. I'm not even hearing what they're saying anymore. I can't hear it anymore. Anyway, go look this up. I don't feel like reading the whole thing. They did ask us. Okay, and just to say on pricing for a little bit here, or stay on pricing. So where was the other? Okay. Here's the one I really wanted to read. So that will be really good to see because right now it looks great. It really it plays great. But I think the talk on the town is the price tag. This is an $80 game from Nintendo in the United States and $50 if you buy the Nintendo Switch bundle. But I saw somewhere on your website that the bundle is only available exactly for a limited amount of times while supplies last. Can you just talk about the strategy behind the pricing? They just want money. I realize they're a company and they need to make money, but I mean, it's oozing. Well, I would say it's less about the strategy of pricing Mario Kart World. It's more just whenever we look at a given game, we just look at what is the experience and what's the content and what's the value. Mario Kart World, I think, especially as you see from the Nintendo Direct, not to give you any hints or anything, but I did read your article this morning, and I think you had mentioned that you didn't find a lot to discover when roaming around. So wait, I think you had mentioned that you didn't find a lot to discover when roaming around. So I would say to tune into our Mario Kart Direct to see what maybe you'll be able to find out about that. But honestly, this game that is so big and so vast, and you will find so many little things in it to discover, and there's still some other secrets remaining that I think as people end up buying and playing the game, they're going to find this to be probably the richest Mario Kart experience they've ever had. So what? It's still a game. It's a video game. $70, fine, maybe, but $80, $90. If they come out and they say there's paid DLC on this Mario Kart, the people are going to just. I mean, you are going to have an issue, man. Okay, and just to stay on pricing for a little bit here, I'm looking at Nintendo Switch 2 edition of games, and some are $70, some are $80. That's what you're looking at right now, and some are cheaper than that too. I don't think we know the U.S. price for Welcome Tour yet, but I think we saw the Japanese prices around $10. Yeah, we're jacking you for $9.99 for this stupid tour, digital only. I'm just wondering about the strategy behind pricing the Nintendo Switch editions at the combination of Switch 1 retail price, usually $59.99, and then whatever the upgrade path is like $10, blah, blah, blah. He keeps not having an answer. Well, again, what I would say is that we just look at each individual game and we look at the content and the value. They're just going to say the same thing over there. He might as well just say, look, we're Nintendo. People are blind. They're just going to buy the game anyway. They're going to complain about it while they're handing over their money, and we're just going to keep going on our way. And that is essentially what this whole interview is. There's, I forget what this guy's name is. Nate, whatever. I can't pronounce that guy's last name. He basically does the exact same thing. In this article, he won't tell anybody who actually is publishing Donkey Kong Bonanza for whatever reason. I don't know. It's just a bunch of non-answers. And then Doug Bowser also gave a bunch of non-answers.
A bit about just kind of the life cycle of these consoles. It's been 8 years since the Switch came. The Switch came off of a kind of disappointing console, the Wii U, which came off of... We know how the cycle has been going. I guess the question now is, with the Switch 2, how do you avoid that trap again? What makes the Switch 2 a worthwhile upgrade so you don't kind of fall into that Wii U moment again?
Yeah, I think of a lot of it is happening behind us right now. And really for us, it's about creating that next generation of gaming platforms for us and doing it in a way that really enhances the overall gameplay for consumers. And with Switch 2, we've taken the things that you know and love about Nintendo Switch, but then added very powerful gameplay features and social features. So it's that understanding.
It is, if you watch these things down here, they run at like 5 frames a second at best. At best.
Understanding of your past and your legacy and what worked well, and then how can you supplement that with improved features, improved interaction to create what we've created today, which is Switch 2.
Part of that's under the hood, and I know you've partnered with NVIDIA on that. Can you just talk a little bit about the improvements we're going to see for these gameplay on a technical level? What can you achieve now as a developer on the Switch 2 that you maybe couldn't have done on the Switch 1?
Yeah, so there's a few features that I'll call out. First of all, the new and improved Joy-Con, really redesigned from the ground up. And the Joy-Con 2, which are the controllers that you have either when it's on the device or when you disconnect, when you're in a docking mode.
Will it actually work this time? I mean, I think I had to send my other one in twice and it still doesn't work.
We've designed from the ground up the control sticks. We've increased the size of the shoulder buttons. We've improved the overall feedback and rumble that you feel when you're playing the game. So that's just one example. From a CPU and GPU standpoint, we've greatly improved that capability and capacity, which is now allowing developers to really bring deeper and richer content to the platform.
Price is a big issue here. Everyone's talking about it. It's $150 more than the original Switch was. Can you talk a little bit about why we're seeing such a big price increase versus the previous generation?
So I think it boils down to a couple of things. First of all, the hardware unit itself, which has a lot of improved features, from some of the things I talked about earlier with the Joy-Con 2, also to the LCD screen.
I don't actually myself have an issue. Are you gonna work or no? I don't really have that much issue with the price of the console. I do have issue with the fact that they, and nowhere in this direct actually gave you the price. They did this interview on the 2nd of April. They could have put this interview out then. It's their just whole, you're going to buy it anyway, so it really doesn't matter when we give you the info, you peasant.
That is much larger and much deeper and richer. And then there's the CPU and GPU processing power that allows for much deeper game development. And I think an ability to bring even more developers onto the platform. And then laid on top of that is the social features that we haven't talked about. But game chat is
this game chat, man. This is something no one cares about. This is going to be used for like 3 minutes, and this is not a selling feature. This is a feature that's been so integrated already to other systems that it's just almost laughable that they're making it look like they've invented the whole thing.
This unique feature that lays on top of any game that you play. With the push of one button, seamlessly you can connect with your friends, you can chat with them via audio, or with 4 of them, you can have them on a video camera and have this opportunity to interact and talk about the games you're playing.
Now we're sitting here on April 2nd. It just so happens, as we're recording this, the President of the United States right now is announcing his tariffs. You and so many other executives are...
I find that very suspicious, to be honest. I find this all suspicious. I find the timing of when Animal Crossing came out suspicious. I find that just so many things very, very suspicious about this whole thing. It's as if they knew what they were doing. It's like they're trying to use Nintendo as a victim to hate on tariffs, which every other country uses. Coincidence, right?
Pulling their hair out, trying to figure out how do I price my products. How did that come into play as you're deciding how to price the Switch 2 here in the United States?
Yeah. As we price the Switch 2, the price we announced today of $449 for this.
You didn't announce it today. It wasn't in the direct. People had to go digging for this.
The single SKU. We didn't consider tariffs into that equation. We felt that that was going to be the right price point for our consumers and the right value proposition, if you will, for the device that we're creating. A lot of news today. We're still all trying to really understand it better and understand what possible impacts, may rise from that. But nothing I can really add to, today's discussion around pricing.
And typically consoles lose money, but you make them up, not on the hardware, but you make it up on the software. Is that kind of the idea with this as well?
Well, I would say that we all are trying to find a way to maintain, if you will, margins on the hardware, even though they may be more slim than they are on software. But yeah, the whole proposition, really, the value add proposition here is once you install the hardware, we want to keep consumers engaged. We want to make sure that they're seeing the value in their investment in one of.
They're not seeing the value in it, which is why the entire Treehouse Live was dropped the price.
our devices. So we're ensuring that we always have gameplay experiences and a regular cadence of gameplay experiences that allows them to come in, purchase, try, play a game, purchase the next game, and really stay engaged with the device over time. And that's part of the success we had with the Nintendo Switch.
I think that's one thing people miss out a lot is the value you get out of games. You might go to the movies, pay $30 or whatever for one outing at the movies, but that's a 2-hour experience, whereas this, hundreds of hours, right? for paying it.
Absolutely, and if we use the Nintendo Switch as an example, we've installed over 150 million units of Nintendo Switch over its lifetime worldwide. Last year, 129 million of those devices were still active. So that's really what's important. We want to make sure consumers see that value and that we're always providing them with new gameplay experiences and other experiences that'll keep them engaged on the platform.
Now, let's talk about the games.
Yeah.
Behind us, we have the new Mario Kart World game going on. Now, I know you're bundling that with the console as a digital download, that it's a $50 add-on, but if you buy the game itself, this got a lot of attention. I don't know if you've seen. $80, that's a lot for a game. I know it's typically not what Nintendo charges. And then we look at the Donkey Kong game that's coming out about a month later, it's $70. Can you talk a little bit about how the gaming pricing strategy is $80 kind of the benchmark for a AAA game from Nintendo? What should we be expecting in the Switch 2 generation as far as how much we're going to be spending on these games?
Yeah, I would say that we're not really looking to establish a benchmark for pricing.
That means that they're going to go up. I mean, can you imagine what they're going to price the next Zelda? I mean, well, we think it's worth $149.99 plus the DLC that you're going to pay for as well.
Look at every game and every experience, and
that gets dangerous. It really does.
Determine what we believe is the right price point based on that experience.
Right.
You've had a chance to play Mario Kart World and see how deeply
it looks the exact same as Mario Kart 8. Sorry.
Immersive it is.
This is like called gaslighting.
How fun it is. And we haven't shown everything yet. We still have a Mario Kart World Direct that'll be
we're going to announce a DLC that you're also going to be paying for.
Coming that'll show even the deeper feature set. So we believe based on the depth and breadth of the play and the repeatability of the play over time, the pricing that we announced is the right pricing. But again, other games like you mentioned, Donkey Kong Bonanza, it's going to be at a $70 price point, because that is what we feel is the right price point.
Again, these games, these graphics are old, man. These graphics have been the same graphics. It like, when do you ever grow up here?
For that particular gaming experience.
So there's no standard price, basically.
There's no standard price.
What about for third-party titles? Is that kind of up to the developer?
That's exactly right. It's really their choice based, again, on the type of gameplay experience that they're bringing.
Let's talk about supply. Really interesting pre-order mechanism you got going on, at least through if we buy from you directly.
That's right.
And I thought this was interesting. It seems to be an anti-scalper move, if I'm reading it correctly, where you have to have a Nintendo account. You're going to look at how many hours I play before you determine if I'm worthy of buying a Switch 2. Are people going to be able to go out and buy it on day one?
So you're going to see.
So here's another thing. Here's another thing that they didn't announce. So on their website, you could sign up for a Nintendo Switch. No one announced this. You just happen to have to go onto Nintendo's website, and if you signed into the little thing, and I mean this is like socialism and communism at its finest right here. This is pinnacle of that system that they're trying to push. It's disgusting to me.
First of all, you're speaking to our own pre-order program that we have through My Nintendo or through Nintendo.com. And our motivation there with the number of hours played was really to reward our most loyal players and to give them a chance to queue up first and have an opportunity to purchase the product. Tomorrow we're going to be meeting with our retail partners.
You didn't even announce it. You didn't even announce that it was happening.
Our retail partners will have their own pre-order programs. So our goal is to meet the demand that's going to be out there for Nintendo Switch 2.
Do you think you can?
Well, it remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But that certainly is our goal.
It's not going to be a Wii 1 situation where
We certainly
years of supply constraints, or the PlayStation 5 years of supply constraints. No COVID to deal with now, so
That's correct.
good,
That's
yeah.
correct. And we've had some time to build up inventories on a global basis.
Okay.
So we really do hope we
So
can
these
meet
are
that
ready
today.
to ship. They're ready to go.
They're even landed already in some in the United States. Yes.
Oh wow! So now people are going to go hunting for warehouses, I think, for these things. I want to talk about safety, kid safety. What I saw you.
Okay, I'm done. They wouldn't have been getting this from me at all. I was so excited about this whole thing. And then I started seeing Nintendo for who they really are. I've seen them for who they really are for a while now. And the way they handle this thing has just been just disgusting, really. There's no other word for it. And I mean, what can you do? What can you do? You can either buy it or not buy it. And I don't think I'm going to buy it unless my Switch keeps giving me the orange screen of death. But it's just the messaging, the weird random pricing, them deciding how much a game's going to cost. You know, like how do you set, like, a lot of true game collectors kind of set a budget at the beginning of the year. How are you going to set a budget when they're just, are they going to change how much it costs in the middle of the cycle? Well, this isn't performing well, or this is performing really well. We're just going to change the price. I know the game was $80, but it's really selling really good. We're going to put it up to $95 because we think the value is there. And buy it or not, you slave. You know, it's ridiculous. And then the socialist, communist slash way of rolling out this thing on their own website, and they didn't even tell anybody about it. This company really has gone downhill. Anyway, comments, I'm sure, will be fruitful. And I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.